Greetings from Dublin, Ireland. I'm Allison Hudson, and I'm going to be reading Chapter 21. It was a sultry night, and Jane went out and up and sat on the hill, to get back into herself, as she expressed it. She had really been out of herself ever since the morning, more or less, because she had burned the toast for breakfast and walked in the humiliation of it all day. Cooking the chickens had been a bit of a strain. The wood stove oven was not like that of Mary's electric range, and making up the guest bedroom under Aunt Irene's amused eyes. Fancy this baby having a spare room, they seemed to say, had been worse. But now she was blessedly alone again, and there was nothing to prevent her sitting on the hill in the cool velvet night as long as she wanted to. The wind was blowing from the southwest, and brought with it the scent of Big Donald's clover field. All the Jimmy John's dogs were barking together. The great dune that they called the Watchtower was scalloping up against the empty north sky. Beyond it sounded the long, low thunder of the surf. A silver moth of dusk flew by, almost brushing her face. Happy had gone with Dad and Dr. Arnott, but the Peters came skittering up the hill and played about her. She held their purring silken flanks against her face and let them bite her cheeks delicately. It was all like a fairy tale come true. When she went back into the house, Jane was her own woman again. Who cared for smooth, smiling Aunt Irene? She, Jane Stewart, was mistress at Lantern Hill. And she would learn to make pie crust, that she would, by the 3 wise monkeys, as Dad was so fond of saying. Since Dad was out, Jane sat down at his desk and wrote a page or two of her letter to Mother. At first, she hadn't known how she could live if she could write to Mother only once a month. Then it occurred to her that though she could mail a letter only once a month, she could write a little of it every day. We had company for supper, wrote Jane. Being forbidden to mention Dad, she'd got around it by adopting the style royal. Dr. Arnott and Aunt Irene. Did you like Aunt Irene, Mummy? Did she make you feel stupid? I cooked the chickens, but Aunt Irene thought pie was better than strawberries. Don't you think wild strawberries would be more elegant than pie, Mummy? I never tasted wild strawberries before. They are delicious. Min and I know where there's a bed of them. I'm going to get up early tomorrow morning and pick some for breakfast. Min's ma says if I can pick enough of them, she will show me how to make them up into jam. I like Min's ma. Min likes her too. Min only weighed 3.5 pounds when she was born. Nobody thought she'd live. Min's ma has a pig she's feeding for their winter pork. She let me feed it yesterday. I like feeding things, Mummy. It makes you important to feed things. Pigs have great appetites. So have I. There's something in the island air, I guess. Miranda Jimmy John can't bear to be joked about being fat. Miranda milks 4 of the cows every night. The Jimmy Johns have 15 cows. I haven't got acquainted with them yet. I don't know whether I'll like cows or not. I think they have an unfriendly look. The Jimmy Johns have big hooks in the kitchen rafters to hang hams on. The Jimmy John baby is so funny and solemn. It has never laughed yet, although it is 9 months old. They're worried about it. It has long, curly black eyelashes. I didn't know babies were so sweet, Mummy. Shingle Snowbeam and I have found a robin's nest in one of the little spruce trees behind the house. There are 4 blue eggs in it. Shingle says we must keep it a secret from Penny and young John or they would blow the eggs. Some secrets are nice things. I like Shingle now. Her real name is Marilyn Florence Isabel. Mrs. Snowbeam says the only thing she could give her children was real fancy names. Shingle's hair is almost white, but her eyes are just the right kind of blue. Something like yours, Mummy, but nobody could have quite such nice eyes as you. Shingle is ambitious. She is the only one of the Snowbeams that has any ambition. She says she's going to make a lady of herself or die in the attempt. I told her if she wanted to be a lady, she must never ask personal questions, and she's not going to do it anymore. But Caraway isn't particular whether she is a lady or not, so she asks them and Shingle hears the answers. I don't like young John Snowbeam much. He makes snoots, but he can pick up sticks with his toes. I like the sound of the wind here at night, Mummy. I like to lie awake just to listen to it. I made a plum pudding one day last week. It would have been very successful if it had succeeded. Mrs. Jimmy John says I should have steamed it, not boiled it. I don't mind Mrs. Jimmy John knowing about my mistakes. She has such sweet eyes. It's such fun to boil potatoes in the 3-legged iron pot, Mummy. The Jimmy Johns have 4 dogs, 3 who go everywhere with them and 1 who stays home. We have 1 dog. Dogs are very nice, Mummy. Step-a-Yard is the name of the Jimmy John's hired man, not his real name, of course. Miranda says he's been in love all his life with Miss Justina Titus and knows it's quite hopeless because Miss Justina is faithful to the memory of Alec Jacks, who was killed in the Great War. She still wears her hair pompadour, Miranda says, because that is how she wore it when she said goodbye to Alec. I think that is touching, Mummy. Mummy, darling, I love to think you'll read this letter and hold it in your hands. It did not give Jane so much pleasure to reflect that grandmother would read it too. Jane could just see grandmother's thin-lipped smile over parts of it. Well, like takes to like. You know, Robin, your daughter has always had the knack of making friends with the wrong people. Snoots! How nice it would be, thought Jane, as she took a flying leap into bed for the fun of it, if Mummy was down there with Dad instead of Dr. Arnott, and they would be coming back to me soon. It must have been that way once. It was in the wee sma's that Andrew Stewart showed his guests to the neat guest room, where Jane had set Grandmother Stewart's blue and white bowl full of crimson peonies on the little table. Then he tiptoed into Jane's room. Jane was sound asleep. He bent over her, with such love radiating from him that Jane felt it and smiled in her sleep. He touched one tumbled lock of russet brown hair. "It is well with the child," said Andrew Stewart.